Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 20th, 2022 meeting of the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll start by reading the public notice. After that, I'll call each case individually. When your case is called, please step up to the podium and in a loud, clear voice, state your name and address for the record. So again, I'll start with the public notice. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Islip will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 at Town Hall West, 401 Main Street, Islip, New York, on the following applications at the times listed or soon thereafter as they may be reached. And at such time, all interested parties will be given an opportunity to be heard. Dated September 19th, 2022, John M. Lorenzo, Chairman. Our first application tonight is number 669-22, Thomas and Carmela Esposito. Permission to leave a greenhouse 14.9 feet by 15.3 feet, having a side yard of 1.4 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Residence AA District, north side of Little Lane, number 7, 122 feet east of Village Lane, Hauppauge, New York. Mr. Trimarco, welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mr. Messina, members of the board. My name is Vincent Trimarco. I represent the applicant. We've submitted the affidavits as required by the board in advance. First off, I would like to make an amendment to the application, and it's a good amendment. Initially, the application was from 4 feet to approximately 1 foot. Well, we cut off part of the rear of the building so that now our application is from 4 feet to 3 feet. And also, the square footage of the building, since we cut off a substantial part of it, is 140 square feet and not 200 plus square feet.
All right, very good. So first, let us take care of that. I'll entertain a motion to amend the call of the meeting. Is there a second? All in favor? All right, none opposed, so carried. You want to stop there? Quit while you're ahead?
Mr. Acting Chairman, I think I have an idea where we're heading on this.
Very good. So anyone, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard on this application?
No.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Wexler, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr.
Fake chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll make a motion to grant the application.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, none, so carried. Have a great night, Mr. Trump.
Thank you.
Next application, number 670-22, Brian and Jamie Dorn. Permission to leave in-ground pool with waterfall, having a side yard of 12 feet instead of required 14 feet, and shed having side yard and rear yard 3.2 feet instead of required 4 feet each. Residence A District, south side of Meissen Street, number 22, 591.36 feet west of Spruce Avenue, West Islip. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Dorn, 22 Meissen Street, West Islip, New York.
Welcome, sir. Okay, I think we have all de minimis relief that's requested here. Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
Does the board have any questions? There be no questions from the board. Does anyone in the public wish to be heard? There being no one, Mr. Nicoli, I'll entertain a motion. All in favor? None opposed, so carried. Application granted. Have a great night, sir.
Thank you.
Next application, number 671-22, Eric and Jeanette Lubin, permission to leave semi-in-ground pool having a side yard of 13 feet and rear yard of 9.1 feet instead of the required 14 feet each. 2 sheds having a side yard of 1 foot and 1.5 feet instead of the required 2 feet each. And a patio on side property line, not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence A District, northeast corner of Craig Place, number 52, and Craig Road, Islip Terrace, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record,
My name is
please.
Max Montalbano, 50 Andrew Avenue, Islip Terrace. Good evening.
Repeat your address.
Max Montalbano, 50 Andrew Avenue, Montalbano.
Did you get the address?
50 Andrew Avenue.
All right. Go ahead, sir. We're all ears. Welcome.
So basically, presented to keep the above ground pool instead of 14 feet, 13 feet, and instead of 14 feet, 9 feet. And the sheds to keep it where they are instead of the required 6 feet.
The shed's very de minimis, so let's not even concern
The above
ourselves.
ground pool, that's what they are.
All right, very good. Any questions from the board? No questions from the board. Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
Any members of the public wish to be heard? There being none, Mr. Sullivan, I'll entertain a motion. All in favor? All opposed? None? So moved.
Thank you.
Application granted.
Have a
Have
good
a
night.
great night. Next application number 672-22, Nicholas and Elizabeth Ferrara. Permission to use dwelling for two-family, family use only pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68, 419.1. Residence B District, west side of Oak Neck Road, number 705, 80 feet north of 7th Street, West Islip, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Nicholas Farrar, 705 Oak Neck Road.
Okay, so you're seeking two-family use based on age? Who's there?
My wife and I, my son, and we want to take in her elderly parents.
Okay, fabulous. Ms. Pissarro, everything in order?
Everything's in order.
All right, Ms. Ryan, any questions from the board? Excuse me. There being none, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No comment.
Anyone from the public wish to be heard? There being none, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Wexler? There a second. All in favor? Opposed? None. Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank
See you in
you.
3
You as
years.
well.
Next application, number 673-22, Jose and Maria Gomez. Permission to leave above-ground pool having a second front yard of 22.8 feet instead of the required 27 feet, and a rear yard of 10.8 instead of required 14. Pool patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, and pool filter having a second front yard of 14 feet instead of required 27 feet. Residence A District, Northeast corner of Illinois Avenue, number 1459, and Kentucky Avenue, Bay Shore. Ma'am, your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Maria Gomez. My address is 1459 Illinois Avenue in Bay Shore, New York, 11706.
Okay, welcome. So anything else you want to tell us besides what I just read?
I just want to get approved. To have
Don't- Everyone in this audience wants to say that. All right, any questions from the board? There being no questions, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
And anyone from the public wish to be heard? There being no one, Mr. Nicole, I'll entertain a motion. I won't. He fled. Huh. I don't know what I said to offend him. All right, Mr. Sullivan made the motion. Mr. Wexler? I did. You're seconding? All in favor? Opposed? None. Application granted. Have a great night.
I just have a quick question.
Oh, you're so close.
What I have to do after this? I
You'll
still
get a
have to
letter.
go-
You'll get a letter from us. You bring that to the building department.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Have a great night. Next application is number 674-22, Anthony J. and Lauren F. Demio. Permission to leave a pool deck on side and rear yard property lines not having required setback of 10 feet each, shed on side property line not having required setback of 2 feet, and driveway on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Residence B District, west side of Carl Drive, number 1080, 102.48 feet north of Damon Street, Bay Shore, New York. Ms. Trello, welcome. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services, with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Thank you. Anything you wish to enlighten us with?
I do. I actually just have one comment I'd like to make that affects the application. There were 2 applications submitted, so we had 2 different zoning inspectors look at the files, and 2 separate denials were written days apart. And well, one of them, they both included the same items, but one left off 2 items. So the 7x7 shed, on the call of the meeting, it's just for a side property line, but it's also 16 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, and that was not in the call.
Oh,
And
it's
then
not
we
relief
have,
we can grant you if it's not in the call. Do you want an adjournment, or do you want to grant us to rule on this application? What's your pleasure?
I would say an adjournment if
Okay,
possible.
so then we'll entertain an application to adjourn. Mr. Wexler? Is there a second, Mr. Sullivan? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Ms. Pissarro, you'll contact Ms. Pissarro, okay? We'll give you an open adjournment.
Sounds
Well,
good.
adjournment at the secretary's discretion,
Great, thank you.
because she's the boss.
She is the boss.
All right, next application, number 675-22, Lance D. Alminger and Jessica D. Sodas. Permission to leave a second-story deck having a side yard of 10.1 feet instead of required 14 feet. In-ground pool having a side yard of 8 feet instead of required 10 feet. Hot tub having side yard of 7 feet instead of required 10 feet. Pool patio having side yards of 3 feet instead of required 6 feet each. Patio on side property line not having required setback of 4 feet. Retaining wall and counter on patio, not on side property lines, not having the required setback of 4 feet each. Shed on property line not having required setback of 2 feet, and driveway having a front yard occupancy of 75% instead of the permitted 35%. Residence B District, east side of Adams Place, number 61, 185.26 feet north of Hunter Avenue, West Islip, New York. Ms. Trailer, is there anything legal on this property?
I see some grass.
The house is legal.
Again, name and address for the record, please.
Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting Services, with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will just go in order of the application.
Okay, your second story deck.
Second story deck.
That's a-
So the house
That's a
is-
problem, as you know, to the board in general,
So this is a very small lot. It's only 42 feet wide.
which makes it
The-
even worse.
The house itself only maintains 10.1, and the deck is in line with the house. It does not protrude any further into the side yard.
No, but it extends further back and it is open instead of the house, which is enclosed. So things like noise and privacy are more greatly affected. Okay, go ahead. What you got next?
Okay, then we have the in-ground pool. It's an irregular shape, so there's only a small portion of it that maintains the 8 feet instead of 10.
Okay,
And the property owner did plant arborvitaes on both sides of the property where the pool is
so we
located.
see from the photo that's up
Yes,
on the screen. That's
to make
great.
sure that there's privacy. That's the pool patio and the patio pavers is kind of the same thing. It's along that area. It maintains 3 feet instead of 6. Again, the patio pavers kind of go around the pool shape, so there's only certain points where it has 3 instead of 6. It's not the entire patio.
Okay.
The
What
hot
about
tub,
the retaining wall and counter on the side property lines?
that is an enclosure for a barbecue. It's in that picture right there.
Yeah,
So
okay.
basically, they put the the barbecue into the paver wall there.
So,
right.
again, you have a use that's kind of, I don't want to say obnoxious, but it's impactful. And you're right next to the neighbor's property.
There have been no complaints from the neighbors on this site at all.
Maybe they're afraid.
Um,
Maybe you
There-
scared
me, I would never.
scared me.
All right.
Then on-
What, go ahead, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. If there's anything else you want to add to that?
Not on this particular item.
Okay,
no.
the shed,
The shed, it's a small 8x11. It's, what is that? That's it right there. It's basically to hold, pool floats and things of that nature, lawn equipment. It's, like I said, it's only 80 square
well, it
feet.
says not having required setback of 2 feet. It looks like it's 2 feet off the fence. Whose fence is that?
That fence,
If you know.
I do not know.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nicole.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Please.
I think what to me troubles me on this application is the second story terrace and 75%.
Okay, so let's talk about that because we didn't
Okay.
give you a chance to address that.
So I did see the number 75. I knew that would be the big problem item
Because
on
you've been
this.
doing this for a long time. You're very
on this
experienced.
agenda. I do know that the board typically likes to see something closer to the 35, maybe go up to about 40%. However, as I previously stated, this is a very small lot. It's only 42 feet wide. So I did have a meeting with zoning today, a conference call, not a meeting, I apologize. And what we went over
It's a meeting.
was.
It's just over a telephone.
Well, one was in person, one was on the
Okay,
phone. So
no
I
worries.
spoke to him over the phone. And what we discussed is if this was a new build coming in on this lot, the town would require a minimum of 2 cars to be able to park in the driveway.
Sure. So if you put 2 cars front to back in front of the garage door, you could fit 2 cars, right?
We actually
What we
cannot.
normally do in these, we give 40%. I don't think we ever get much more unless there's some compelling reason. There's always been, it's on like a gas traffic.
So we went over the numbers because I wanted to see if 40% was feasible on this lot. But because we have, in length, we only have 26 feet, you actually can't put two cars, one in front and one behind. They don't fit. A standard car size is 9 by 11.
So,
So,
what-
I'm sorry,
11?
9 by 19.
oh, okay. I was gonna say,
So what he did was he figured out the number. If you were to do the two
side
cars
by
wide,
side, right?
side by side, it would bring us to 43% front
Okay.
yard occupancy. And then I had him help me figure out if this was a 75-foot lot, what this actual driveway in its existing condition, what percentage it would be.
I
And he
think
said-
everybody on the board would go along with 43%.
Provided that it's a collective decision.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
There's a reason for that.
Right,
Yep.
Sure. So I think that one we can get by. Tell us about the second story deck. That's a little more problematic. You know, this might get into Mr. Stevens, that we're looking to the neighbors. Yard.
So
Not
if you
getting the rest.
If you take a look at the photo there, the neighbor's house actually comes up quite higher, and they're really going right into the house next door.
Yeah,
There's
but
no-
Ms. Trella, they're looking right down into the yard.
Yeah.
They can't do anything without, it's like being on a camera 24/7. I mean, that's a little rough.
it's
All
been-
right, I mean, you've made your point. You know, we don't have to belabor
If
it.
you look at the aerial, it doesn't,
Is that?
I didn't realize.
It's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't really look into it. I mean, it's.
All right.
Every time you have your backyard.
This is one
you're
where
gonna
I
have
don't know
to-
why this is.
All right.
it's not.
Well, we're gonna have a
It's-
little bit to
it's
talk
not-
about on this
it's-
anyway, because it's a mixed
But it's
bag.
like
So,
this-
all right, Ms. Ryan, any questions or any comments?
I mostly agree with the board about lowering the front yard
Mostly
occupancy.
agree, Ms. Ryan, I'm hurt.
What don't you do?
Yeah, exactly. What did we get wrong? No,
well,
I'm only kidding.
I want to know about the barbecue. Was that just, because that seemed a little bit close as well.
Yes, and we
Okay,
pointed,
all right.
pointed
No,
that
I
out.
agree. I agree with the board.
I was looking at that back piece of property, notice the back face.
They do.
They do.
It's separated.
It was, I think.
This
Now
is,
they're-
look, this is an older aerial. It doesn't show the pool or
Yeah.
anything in
On
it.
top of the barbecue, I don't know how much of a position of neighbor.
All right, well, we'll talk about that. I mean, I think we're all comfortable. All right, anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Nicolia, since you're back, I'll entertain a motion. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye, none opposed. Very good. Decision reserved. Ms.
You have a good night.
Okay, that's it. Have a great night. Next application, number 676-22, John and Patricia Flynn. Permission to leave walled gravel area having a side yard of 2 feet instead of required 4 feet, and to leave shed not having 20 feet behind front line of dwelling. Residence A District, north side of Breton Road, number 109, 735.54 feet west of Woodbury Road, Hopog. Sir, your name and address for the record.
John H. Flynn, 109 Breton Road, Hop Park.
Mr. Flynn, welcome. Anything you wish to tell us about your application?
No, not really. Just that the topography of my backyard, everything flows from back to front, so I really don't have much area to put the shed.
Actually, hold on. Oh, we're looking at an area with an above-ground pool. Is that still there?
No, it's gone.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board?
No, sir.
You're not on the board.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
If you were, you could vote for yourself. then. All right. Ms. Ryan, you wish to be heard?
I just want to know, when did you put up the shed?
The shed is maybe 2 years old or so. Somewhere in there.
Okay.
Two or
Just
three.
because the aerial showed an older shed, I guess.
Yeah, we
It was
ripped that
back.
down.
Okay.
We had to take that down.
Very good. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Wexler, entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. All in, I'm old, Mr. McCauley. I'm old. All in favor? Yes, you are. All in favor? Opposed? None. Application granted. Have a great night, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next application number 677-22, Diana Fernandez, permission to leave pool patio having a front yard through lot of 0.7 feet instead of the required 19 feet. Pool equipment having a front yard of 8.5 feet and shed having 12.5 feet front yard instead of the required 25 each. And to leave driveway on the side property line not having required setback of 4 feet, Residence A District, west side of Elaine Avenue. number 1382, 172.13 feet south of Idaho Street through lot to Panattaquid Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Eleonora Hernandez, 1328 Elaine Avenue in Bayshore.
Thank you. Is there anything you wish to tell us about your application?
No.
Okay, any questions from the board? There being none, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
And anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being no one, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Sullivan?
Chairman, move to grant the application.
Is there a second? All in favor? All right. All opposed? None. Application granted. Have a great night, sir.
Thank you.
Next application number 678-22, Rafael Rodriguez and Janine Traina. Permission to leave in-ground pool having a second front yard of 20.2 feet instead of required 27 feet. Pool patio having second front yard of 5 feet instead of the required 22 feet. And a rear yard of 5 feet instead of required 6 feet. Fence having a front yard of 2 feet instead, 6-foot fence, having a front yard of 2 feet instead of the required 10 feet. Residence 8 District, northeast corner of Cynthia Lane, number 3, and Maryland Street, East Islip. Ma'am, sir, your names and addresses for the record, please.
My name is Raphael. This is my wife Janine Rodriguez. We live
Welcome.
on 3 Cynthia Lane, East Islip.
Anything else you'd like to tell us about your application?
Just trying to build my forever home.
Just
all I'm
trying
trying
to
to
make
do.
everything legal. You know, the 6-foot fence in the front yard is a problem for us. I don't know that we've ever really granted that except in extraordinary circumstances, which I don't see here. So let's see what the board has to say, and then
That's it.
we'll give you a chance to respond.
Okay.
All right. Any questions from the board? There being none. Ms. Ryan?
I just would like to point out that they are abutting behind a home occupation here, and there is a light here because it's a semi-major intersection.
Where is the 6-foot fence? Is it the one?
It's right here.
Okay.
So it's along this road.
Is it the
Where it
entire
intersects-
length of the property?
Nope, just this part of it.
That looks like it's 2 inches. Like it's-
2 inches is 60 is 6 miles.
Yeah, right. 2 inches, we'll give you
Probably like 30 feet,
like 30 feet.
probably around that. I would think, but I'm not too sure exactly.
So the backyard is a 6-foot fence, and the front yard is no.
Nothing up here. Nope.
Well,
it's
they're
just
calling
in
that
this
the
back
front yard.
section. It's a second front yard.
Yeah, it's a second front yard. That's true. All right. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? Yeah, just come on up. Could you give this young lady an opportunity? Step aside. Ma'am, your name and address for the record, please.
Julie McGinnis, 24 Maryland
Speak
Street.
up. I'm sorry. I can't.
Julie McGinnis, 24 Maryland Street, East Islip.
Thank you.
I'm diagonally across the street, and I
Okay.
can say that that portion of the fence is no impediment whatsoever. You kind of barely even notice it.
So you're in favor of the application?
I don't see any problem with any of it, honestly.
All right. Well, thank you
I
very
lived across the street from it for a long time, and it's never looked better.
Thank you very much for coming down. Appreciate that. We appreciate your input. Okay, any other questions? All right, Mr. Sullivan, I'll entertain a motion. There being nothing else, Mr. Sullivan, I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, move to grant the application.
Is there a second? All in favor? Opposed? None. Application granted. Look at that. You didn't even have to.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next application is number 679-22, Jose and Fanny Vasquez. Permission to leave a one-story addition 10 feet by 15.3 feet, resulting in a floor area ratio of 32.7% instead of a permitted 25%. A deck with a 0.4 feet height on side and rear property lines, not having a required setback of 4 feet each. And rear yard landscaping of 38 instead of required 40%, Residence B District, northeast corner of North Panattaquid Avenue, number 141, and Tilly Street, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, how you doing, everyone? My name is Jose Vasquez, and my address 141 Panattaquid Avenue in Bayshore, New York, 11706.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your application?
Not really, I just want to see if I can get the permit, that's all.
Okay, very good. Any questions from the board? There being none, Ms. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask about the Ms. Ryan thing, but what is the FAR in that net?
There's only a grant for 30%.
Only 30.
Yep.
All right. Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard besides that?
Nope.
Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? All right, let's hold on one second.
So I just want to point out to the board
Speak
that
up.
a large percentage of this house is legacy FAR. If you'll notice, the lot area is small. It's only 6,667 square feet. The proposed addition that Mr. Vasquez is seeking to leave is only 153 square feet. It accounts for only 2.3% of that FAR. So the house, when constructed, had an FAR of 30.4%.
So he's looking to add 2.3% to his FAR.
I understand that, but how do we grant that and not thereby change another one? We worked really hard.
Well, we don't know that because if there's other legacy houses there, they may in fact be over and we just don't know it. If you look on the aerial to the left, I don't know that house has a compliant FAR. The one to the right might not either.
That would draw us into the let's say it was CERN. Let's just throw it out there.
It's entirely unreliable, that place. So, all right. Any other comments from the board? Okay, very good. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Wexler, we're back to you, I believe.
Okay, back to me. I'll make a motion to reserve.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Sir, we've reserved decision. What that means is you'll get a decision from us within 62 days, if not sooner. There's a couple of little things we want to discuss, okay?
All right, so how are we know?
You'll get a letter from the board,
You say 62 days?
or less. Okay? You're not selling your house or
I'm trying
anything.
to get a permit for solar panels, and that's taken too long to.
Oh, I see. All right, well, we'll try our very best to get to this as soon as we possibly can, okay?
Okay.
Very
So
good, thank
they
you.
will call me, they will,
You'll get a letter from us.
all right?
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, and thank you for your time. Next application, number 680-22, Cesar W. Ponce and Cesar W. Ponce Coloma. Permission to leave an awning 11 feet by 17 feet, having a rear yard of 15 feet instead of required 25 feet, and driveway having a side yard of 0.8 feet instead of required 4 feet. Residence A District, north side of Poplar Place, number 19, 143.75 feet west of Manor Lane, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record.
Ingmar Canales, 1 Jefferson Avenue in Rockville Center, New York, 11570.
Thank you. Is there anything you wish to tell us about the application?
Yes, I'm representing Mr. Ponce is here with me. Basically, it's seeking the relief of, maintaining two items, which is the driveway with the setback with 0.8 and the awning in the back.
How far does the driveway go back into the property line?
It goes back, you see the fence there, it's
Oh, wait,
prior.
I see an aerial.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Never mind.
Okay, so
have a
it's
visual of
it's not a major change. Just
No,
wanted-
and there's a lot of open space between that and the house
Exactly.
next
So, and I just want to bring to the board's attention that Mr. Ponce, he's a retire. He seeked a peaceful area in Bayshore to retire from the city. When he saw the house, he saw that he had a big enough driveway that he could park. He drives a big van. His whole life has driven a van, so he's used to that. So he needs a little bit of an extra space to park there. So that was one of the main reasons that he bought the house. Everything that you see there was existing when he bought it. He
Even-
didn't do anything.
Even the awning?
The awning was existing, the
Okay.
driveway
I
was
mean, that
existing.
doesn't make it right. What that means is somebody messed up and they
Right,
should have
yeah,
gotten.
yes, that's correct. So, and pretty much that is, what it comes down to that, if you look at the area on the property, there are a lot of other areas that have the kind of like the same setup, with the driveway closer
Yeah,
to.
not that close to, the driveway is.
Yeah,
I
so-
understand, but the awning, I don't see many. Anyway, any questions from the board? There being none, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
I would just wish that it never be enclosed if the board saw fit to grant it.
Okay, is your client willing to accept that? You never enclose under the awning?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Nicolia, we're up to you. All in favor? None opposed. Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Next application number 681-22, Nixon R. Gonzalez and Judith N. O'Brien Heatner. Permission to leave accessory structure 15.3 feet by 44.3 feet, having a side yard of 7.6 feet instead of required 10 feet, and shed with two awnings, having a side yard of 3 feet instead of the required 4 feet, Residence AA District, west side of Connecticut Avenue, number 1194, 201 feet north of Allwood Avenue, Central Islip, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, and the name and address of the folks behind you.
My name is Salim Ibrahim. I reside at 254-10 Francis Lewis Boulevard, Rosedale, New York, 11422. And I have the owners behind me.
Okay, they're the applicants?
Yes.
Okay, we'll note your presence, and we have your address.
Yeah, my name is Dixon Gonzalez, and that is 1194 Connecticut Avenue, Central Islip, New York,
Thanks.
11722.
Thank you.
It's my wife.
Very good. Okay, so anything you wish to tell us about the application, sir?
Yes. What I have is they do have a CO for the accessories.
Sir, you're asking for very de minimis relief here, so maybe less is more.
Okay. So,
All right. Mr. Wexler, you have any?
Yes, I'm looking at the photograph, and I'm trying to find out what is that? It's like a side of a vending.
Oh, that's what storage only has for the machine. Sorry for that, for the storage. He had a CO for two.
That's CO'd?
That was a CO for 400 square feet, and they added more square footage to the building. 400 square feet. Yeah, 300 square feet extra. 700 square feet right now they have.
But we here for, is that the accessory
Yeah,
structure?
correct, yes. For the barn, they have it as a barn.
It's only 2.4 feet. Variance we're asking, that they're asking.
No side yard 10 feet.
We- Okay. That may be a good solution. That may be a good solution. Alrighty then. Well, there's gonna be a building inspector that goes out and looks at that, so. Mr. Wexler, don't ever make that statement on the record. There's a core group of people out there. That's right. All right, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
I just would like to know if there is a similar precedent of a detached garage with a side yard of 7.3.
Okay, so there's precedent. Very good. And does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being no one, Mr. Sullivan, we're up to you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the application. We agree on for the life of the structure,
For the accessory structure?
accessory structure, whatever long that may be.
All right, very good. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye, opposed, none. Application granted for the life of the structure.
Thank you very
Congratulations.
much.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
Next application number 682-22, Matthew and Brianna DeVito. Permission to leave shed having a second front yard of 7.2 feet instead of the required 27 feet, and not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling, pool patio on side property line, not having required setback of 6 feet, and 6-foot fence having a front yard of 3.6 feet instead of the required 10 feet, Residence A District, southwest corner of Driftwood Drive and Snedeker Avenue, West Islip. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Matthew DeVivo, 187 Driftwood Drive, West Islip, New York.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to tell us about your application?
First, it's actually DeVivo, DEVIVO, just to,
Oh, I apologize.
No
On my sheet, it says DeVito.
I know, no problem. DeVivo, DEVIVO.
A V instead of a T.
Yeah, V instead of a T.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to tell us about your application?
No.
All right, there you go. Any questions from the board? Ms. Ryan?
I'd just like to note that the shed wouldn't impact any neighbors because it's against a road, which is on the other side is a school. So I don't think it would have a major impact, so no objections.
All right, so with that important information, that might be something the board wishes to consider. Anybody in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Wexler, it's back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Opposed? None. Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Next application number 683-22, Kenneth M. Woods. Permission to leave patios on side and rear property lines, not having a required setback of 4 feet each. Residence A District, north side of Ann Lane, number 21, 738.65 feet west of Wheeler Road, Central Islip, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Kenneth Woods, 21 Ann Lane, Central Islip.
I knew you were gonna be in a loud and clear voice. You know? I just had a feeling. What branch are you in, sir?
Army,
Thank you for your service.
welcome.
All right. Anything you'd like to tell us about your application?
No, sir, just like for it to be granted. That's
Very good. Amen. Anyone questions from the board? There being none, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
All right. Does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being no one, Mr. Nicolia, I'll entertain a motion. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Application granted. Have a great night, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next application, number 684-22, Lawrence W. Caleta and Laura M. Indelicato. Permission to erect second-story addition, 24.1 feet by 29.5 feet with cantilever overhang, having front yard of 23.5 feet instead of required 25 feet. Residence B District, north side of West Conlu Drive, number 13. Who knew there was a West Conlu Drive? 303.21 feet east of Adams Street, East Islip, New York. Is there anyone here on this application? All right, we'll mark it second call. Next application, number 685-22, Christy A. and James M. Foltz Jr. Permission to install decking adjacent to bulkhead on side and rear property lines, not having required setback of 4 feet each, and to install a raised pool patio, leaving a rear yard of 7.9 feet instead of the required 10 feet. Residence A District, west side of Sunset Drive, number 60, 1320 feet south of Montauk Highway, Sayville, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please, and please let us know how high that raised pool patio is.
Dan Peperaro, Peveraro, with Key Civil Engineering, 664 Blue Point Road in Holtzville.
And my question was, how high is that raised pool patio?
About 2.5 feet, maybe 2 foot 4 inch.
Okay. Go ahead. The floor is yours, sir, if you wish.
Yeah, one important item to note is that the nearest neighbor to the west across the canal is about 115 feet away. So we're asking for 2.1 foot variance for that pool deck.
Your variance is toward the
towards
canal?
the rear, where there is no neighbor.
Right. Understood.
And then additionally, I have an exhibit here that shows the variances that we're looking for. If the board has any questions on it,
You're looking for one variance. It seems pretty minor.
it's that, and then there's a second variance for decking up against the side yard.
We only have one in front of us, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the application before yours. I apologize. Oh my gosh, that's a huge variance. No. All right. Any questions from the board? There being none, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being no one, Mr. Sullivan, we're up to you.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Is there a second? All in favor? Opposed? None. Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Next application, number 686-22, Stephen C. and Lisa Marie Verdi. Permission to leave pool patio having a side yard of 1.6 feet and rear yard of 2.26 feet instead of the required 6 feet each. Hot tub having side yard of 1.6 feet instead of the required 10 feet. Second story deck having a side yard of 9.8 instead of the required 14 feet, and pond in front yard instead of the required rear yard. Residence B District, north side of Ontario Street, number 219, 500 feet west of Haven Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. Sir, ma'am, your names and addresses for the record, please.
My name is Stephen Verdi, 219 Ontario Street, Ronkonkoma, New York. This is my wife, Lisa Marie.
Welcome. All right, anything you'd like to tell us about your application?
Not at this time, no.
All right, you heard our concern about second-story decks, I'm sure, before. Any questions from the board?
I'm looking at photographs, and I'm just trying to, maybe you could point out where the deck is.
It's in that little, yeah, right there. So it appears to be much less
It's
impactful.
only 8 feet deep. It's 8 feet deep, so that's why you can't really see it with the aerial. So very shallow.
All right. Thank you. My pleasure. Any other questions? Ms. Ryan?
My only concern is the pond in the front yard.
Okay, what's your concern about it? That it's there?
Just a safety hazard, or just, I don't know if it's fenced in or anything like that.
I mean, any water feature in the front yard would have that same concern, I guess, right? Which is why the ordinance is what it is, but I think we've always recognized certain things.
There is a netting on it.
I'm sorry, speak up.
I'm sorry, there is a netting on it. I know it doesn't really.
There's a what?
Net.
Around it?
Yeah, on the top of it.
On the top of it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's an important thing.
Yeah.
Good.
Correct.
Decoy.
Well, they're really goldfish.
All right, anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Wexler, I apologize. Thank you. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye, opposed, none. Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Next application number 687-22, Michael Mastrangelo, to renew permit for accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code Section 68616, Residence Double A District, east side of Locust Avenue, number 677, 463.30 feet north of West Gulf Street, Bohemia, New York. Take your time, and when you get to the podium, names and addresses for both of you for the record, please.
My name is Francesca Danisi.
Speak up.
My name is Francesca Danisi.
Okay, and how are you related?
I'm his fiance. I'm here to help him out because he has problem hearing.
Okay, very good. Could you spell your name for the
My
record?
name is Michael Mastrangelo. I live on 677 Locust Avenue, Bohemia,
Thank you.
11716.
Thank you, ma'am. Could you spell your last name?
My
for
last name, yes. My last name is Danisi. You're welcome.
All right, so you're here for a public renewal because we received a complaint about the apartment. Ms. Pissarro, could you summarize that for the board, please?
I can. We have.
I had full faith.
A letter of concern from what appears to be an adjacent property owner. Mostly generalized concerns with the tenants smoking a lot and feeling like it's an unsafe situation next door.
What do they think is unsafe? The
Well,
smoking?
They do, and then shortly after we received the letter, there was a fire at the property. So
How did that start? Do we know?
The fire was supposed to from different reason, and the tenant that was here has moved for about 2 years now.
Okay, but wait.
For a year and a half.
Let's stop. You're allowed to smoke. It's legal. Okay, so that's not a reason, in my view, for denying a renewal. Okay,
I
Just
have a
because someone
pitch.
smokes.
I'm sorry.
All right, hang on.
So the concern is, according to the fire marshal's report, the tenant who possibly started the fire from the cigarettes was living in the basement, which is not where the board approved the accessory apartment.
No, that was not a tenant. That was my friend of Mike's, and it's not as long there. I was there just for the night, and it's not there anymore.
So let
It
me
was
ask you
not
something.
A tenant. We don't have a. We,
Yes, was there just one night?
yeah, that was not a tenant. My, I know. I know. It
So that
was
was
a
one
bad accident that happened. I mean,
Say preserve, but
we don't really want to, cause that I was there. I left the very next day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's no longer there.
All right, let
And
me
the
ask you. Let me ask you something.
Sure.
Is the building habitable after the fire? Can you live in it now?
Oh, yes, everything was repaired. It's livable.
Okay, very good.
And we also had an inspector from the town of Islip came there and checked everything. Everything is fine. There is nothing that, the basement now, like we used to, we using it.
Okay, very good. Any other
Yes.
questions from the board? Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No comment.
Very good. Take the fifth. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being no one, Mr. Wexler, I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I read through the letter and I heard the applicant, and I have some concerns. And I think what would be fair is that we grant this for a period of 1 year, so that we can monitor, it, make sure whatever happens, we agree that doesn't happen again.
Sure,
And
yes.
if we get further complaints, then we may have other issues. That's-
Okay.
so I
All
think
right.
my
That's-
application granted for 1 year.
All right, there's a second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
All-
very
wait,
much.
You're not done yet. All in favor? Opposed? None. All right, now you're done. Application granted for a period of 1 year. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, make sure that there's no problems there, please. Next application is, do I see Mr. Brody here? Okay, very good. Next application number 688-22, John Tyler. Permission to leave an entrance platform having a front yard of 13 instead of required 25 feet. To leave first floor elevation at 12.3 feet instead of the permitted 8 feet. To leave decking having a side yard of 5.8 feet instead of required 14 feet, total side yards of 15.8 feet instead of required 28 feet, and rear yard of 21 feet instead of the required 25 feet. Residence B District, west side of Inlet View, number 13, 232.92 feet north of Bay Place, Bay Shore. Mr. Brody, name and address for the record, please.
Yes, good evening, members of the board. Charles J. Brody, architect, 30 Bethesda Lane, Salem, New York, 11782, representing the property owners. As just stated in the call, homeowners seek permission to maintain a 13-foot front yard setback to the stair platform, a 5.8 side yard setback to the small little rear platform in the back of the house, 21-foot rear yard setback to the second story deck.
It's a very awkward configuration.
Okay, so this was in front of the board in 2015. One of the first homes in the area.
Yeah, we have the
on this-
decision in front of us.
And yes, so with regard to what the board had granted, it was 28.8 feet from base flood elevation 4. And at that time, the board had granted an additional 3 feet. 2 feet for the freeboard of the flood and the additional 1 foot. So in raising this house had an existing garage. We had raised it up to include the garage underneath of the structure. So it was already a 2-story structure. So in raising it, we needed 7 feet for the door. We needed an extra foot, 8 feet for the structure. Underneath to the ceiling, we needed another 12 inches or a little bit higher for the actual girder structure underneath there. And at that time, when this was lifted, the concern was only about the ridge height in all the zones. There was nothing on the board yet about the maximum 4 feet above the base flood, which came into play in 2019.
Okay, but we gave you a variance to raise it, and you went higher than what we gave. Yes or no?
There was no restriction to the floor height. There was
So
only
you-
restriction.
So your answer
to-
is no.
Correct, but there was no restriction to the floor height, only to the ridge height.
Why didn't it get built between 2015 and now?
Well, it's been built. We've
So,
been going.
so what triggered this application then?
We're trying to close out the application. So
So they had a building permit and they didn't close it out?
no, it's still open. We're still involved with closing it off because we had
What took so long?
we had issues with New York Rising getting funding.
Okay, all right, I
We
got it.
needed the
All right,
sprinkler
that's-
system for the 3-story house now that it's considered.
Help us with, what is the impediment that, tell us why you did not. I see it in the call, but explain it.
Okay, so we put in final paperwork for the CO, and it came back the final paperwork with the items listed. So,
So,
the
Mr. Brody,
deck-
isn't it the fact that the rules changed during the course of construction?
Of course it did.
Okay, so that's why we're here, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that's all. That's all the explanation, unless Mr. Wexler requires more.
No, I guess the question is, would we approve this?
Well, we did,
Right, and then the rules changed.
Correct.
and we-
right.
Okay.
He got caught in the middle, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions from the board? Ms. Ryan, you wish to be heard?
There is precedent for the first floor elevation, actually.
All right.
And then for the front yard and for the rear yard as well.
Very good. Does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being no one, Mr. Nicole, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to grant the application, and I request Mr. Garbarino to please indicate in the decision that this is a cause between the situation originally approved on the 30th, 16, and
All right, very good. All in favor? All opposed, none. Application granted. Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Next
Have a good
application,
night.
number 689-22, Angela Coletta. Permission to leave enclosed porch 14 feet by 20 feet, having a rear yard of 15 feet instead of the required 25 feet, and floor area ratio of 34.3% instead of the permitted 25%, pool pavers having side and rear yards of 2 feet instead of required 6 feet each, and pavement on side and rear property lines not having required setback of 4 feet each. Residence B District northwest side of Avis Drive, number 57, 121.73 feet north of Lexington Avenue, Holbrook, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, as well as that of the young lady next to you, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Kevin Guilfoyle for the applicant, Angela Rogacki.
I thought the applicant is Angela Coletta.
Yeah, the former.
Formally, divorced now.
Okay.
Rogacki? Rogacki. Thank you.
Very good. Go ahead, Mr. Guilfoyle. The floor is yours.
My client purchased the home with her former husband in 2003. Oh, wait a minute, maybe should I go over the call of the calendar, Mary?
So why don't we do this? Okay. You have a very, looking at the aerial, you have a very odd shaped lot, right?
Correct.
And is that in fact the practical difficulty that leads you to making applications for this variance?
Correct.
All right. Your FAR is a little high, but I don't know if that bothers anyone or if there's precedent. Ms. Ryan, can you educate the board at all?
There's no precedent for the FAR, but I believe in speaking with Mr. Guilfoyle that there was the property originally owned part of the Railroad Avenue before it was Railroad Avenue.
Oh, so there was a taking?
That's what,
No, not a taking, a dedication when the subdivision was approved.
Okay.
right.
It was they took 15 foot off the rear property line for Railroad Avenue.
I think Ms. Pissarro may want to enlighten us a little bit. Ms. Pissarro?
Yeah, the current property configuration was created in the 1970s by a major subdivision at that time. And so the property in question tonight never owned that part of the right of
Correct.
Railroad Avenue.
Okay.
It was required of the developer.
Yeah, not a dedication by the homeowner, but to the developer.
Okay.
Railroad Avenue is most relevant just because it's a through lot.
Right. And you're right next to then the railroad tracks, right? Right across the street.
So I understand that, because I wasn't in today to respond to your emails today, Kevin.
Okay.
But I understand that you reviewed this today with zoning.
Yes.
And zoning had a little discrepancy in
Yeah,
the
we
original zoning person's
we
denial.
reviewed the floor plan, and the floor plan was initially based on a survey.
Okay, let Ms. Pissarro finish.
Right. So the only thing I see that when you meant, should we address the call of the meeting, is I think you determined that the through lot setback for the pool patio would be 9 feet, which is advertised, I think, as a rear yard of, the required would be 6 feet.
Mhm.
So I think maybe you're asking for the board to consider amending the call of the meeting to reflect
Well-
that the actual rear yard setback requirement for that pool patio is 9.
Okay. The other issue is there was a reduction in the FAR request from 34.3 to 31.6.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so I'll take a motion to amend the call of the meeting as Ms. Pissarro has this, and Mr. Guilfoyle has described. Second, all in favor? Aye, opposed, none. Great. The call is amended. Any other questions from the board? Being none, Ms. Ryan, anything else you'd like to speak to?
No.
Very good. Is there anyone in the audience wishes to be heard? Nobody? Mr. Sullivan, we're up to you. I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I move to grant the application as amended.
Second, all in favor? Aye, opposed, none. Congratulations, application granted.
Thank you.
Next application number 690-22, Nicholas DeSena. Permission to erect a one-story addition with balcony leaving side yard of 9 feet instead of required 14 feet. One-story addition with balcony leaving a front yard of 35.5 feet instead of required 40 feet, and side yard of 12.6 feet instead of required 14 feet. 2 one-story additions and a second-story addition, all having total side yards of 20 feet, 3 feet instead of the required 28 feet, and floor area ratio of 32.68% instead of permitted 25% to leave pool patio having side yard of 4.4 feet instead of the required 6 feet, and driveway having a front yard occupancy of 58.7% instead of permitted 35%. Residence A District, west side of Cutler Court, number 23, 333.76 feet south of Viking Drive, West Islip. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Pfluger of Bowler Pfluger Architects. We're at 85 East Main Street, Bay Shore, New York, 11706.
All right. So Let's talk about that front yard occupancy.
Sure, we can start with that.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's an existing condition. Well, actually, I think I might want to mention something first before I get into
Go
that.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Since the application was submitted, we, with the homeowner, reviewed what the setbacks were that we were requesting and looked at precedents in the area, and we would actually like to amend some of the setbacks.
Great.
So I can go through that now.
Please do.
So for the side yard setback that we were requesting 9 feet, we would like to amend that to 13.3 feet. And that would actually be to a porch, a front covered porch. And then the front yard setback would be amended to 35.7 feet, also to a front covered porch.
Instead of 40, right?
Correct.
And then, okay, go ahead.
And there would be no addition that encroaches into the front yard, just the porch.
Okay.
And then that.
You said 35.7 or 39.7?
Excuse me, 35.7.
That's, no, I thought that's what I heard, but Ms. Becerra wasn't sure.
So 35.5 now. So.
Right, so now it's 35.7.
Correct. Yeah, we had 35.5 to an addition, but now we're asking for 35.7 to a porch.
Okay.
And again, no addition would encroach into the front yard. This effectively brings our FAR down to 31.5%.
Much better.
Yep. And our total side yard setback, we were requesting 23, but now it would be 26.3. 26.3. Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. Say that last one again.
The total side yard setback would be 26.3 rather than the 23 feet that
Okay,
we were requesting.
26.3 instead of required 28.
Correct.
It was advertised at 23.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so you improved that. Very good.
All these changes are all stuff.
Right.
Correct. And I do have revised site plans here if you want me to
All
submit
right.
them.
Hang on a second. So can I have a motion to amend the call of the meeting as Mr. Fluger, has put on the record? Second as well. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. We've amended the call. Very good. You want to hand up the site plan? I think that might be helpful.
Sure.
What do you have for precedent even if
For the FAR you're asking?
Yes, I do.
Thanks.
We have precedent at 33.7%, twice actually. Once at 10 Viking Drive and another at 9 Cedar Point Drive. I also have the ZBA numbers if you want them. I assume so. We actually did email Miss Ryan for these numbers.
All right. Well, let's hear from Ms. Ryan then. Ms. Ryan.
Yes, there is precedent for 33.7 for those two addresses. The Cedar Point Drive is just down here.
Oh, it's right across the canal.
Technically, yeah.
And what are you doing to alleviate 58.7 front yard?
So that in the previous application, we were proposing to modify the existing driveway, but keeping the same percentage. But now we're keeping the driveway existing to the way it currently is.
I'm very simple, just give me a number. How do you get to 40%? That's the number, you're not granting 58.
Gotcha. I would say the only thing we would do is reach the percentage that you're going to
Very
grant. Yeah.
Well done, sir. Okay.
Hey, it's
Ms. Ryan, anything else?
easy.
No objections. For the
Very
rest.
good. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard in this application? There being no one, Mr. Wexler, I think we're back to you. We'll entertain a motion.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we deny similar to the application, seeking front yard occupancy of 58.7 and grant 40% and grant the remainder of the application.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None. Application granted. Well done, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
I thought it was going to be iffy for a while there. The next application was adjourned from August 16th, 2022. 585-22, Michael Maffetone. Permission to erect a two-story addition, 32 feet by 46 feet irregular, leaving side yard of 5.05 feet instead of required 18 feet, and total side yards of 22.45 feet instead of required 36 feet. Residence AA District, east side of East Bayberry Road, number 213, 1958.19 feet south of Elder Road in Islip. Gentlemen, your names and addresses for the record, please.
Mike Maffetone, 26 Lighthouse Road in Babylon.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, Mel Gonzalez, MIG Architect, 1050 Old Nichols Road.
Certainly.
New
Welcome
York.
back, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Good to have you again. Gentlemen, is there anything you'd like to tell us about your application?
I'd actually like to segue into a few questions, maybe.
We ask the questions.
Okay. All right. So basically,
I'm just saying, telling you what Mr. Wexler said. See, I've learned well at your feet, sir. All right, go ahead. What do you got to tell us?
Okay, sir. So basically, we have currently a garage that's 5.06 feet away from the property line.
And is that CO'd?
It is CO'd.
Okay.
Yes. Everything at the structure currently is CO'd. It is a two-story structure. So on the north side is the garage, which again is 5.06 feet away from the property line.
Okay,
We're-
and there's actually a neighbor to the north, right?
There is a neighbor to the north.
Okay.
If you,
That's a one-story currently garage, right?
that is currently a one-story garage,
And are
but
you keeping the addition one-story?
we are not trying to keep the addition one.
You're doing two, right?
We're trying to do a two-story
Okay.
addition.
That's not sitting well with me because 5 instead of 18 is awfully close. 5 instead of 18 being 2 floors is way
Understood.
problematic.
It's problematic for
You.
for
You, for all of us.
Well, for Mr. Wexler, which means it's problematic for you.
okay, not a problem. So
That's the way it goes.
not a problem. So
You
then,
understand the concern we
Uh,
have. If you're the next door neighbor, all right, 5 feet is really close. How it got there, I'll never know. Maybe it was legacy. I know that area.
it was a variance. It was a variance in 1956 that was granted.
Right.
Oh, so 5 feet is close. Now you want to double it. That's
Double the height.
That's a lot.
Okay. Okay. Understood. So, so your concern and your position is it'll never happen.
That's just me. I'm selling.
He's one of 5, so.
It's a hard sell for me, but
Understood. So we have a secondary idea, but I'd like to still continue to talk about the first
Yeah,
one
please,
for
go
5
ahead.
more minutes, and then we can
Yeah, go
segue
ahead.
into our second idea. So
Floor is yours.
Basically with the property is old and dilapidated from the 80s and 90s. Okay, these are the renderings of which we're looking to. I can bring them up if you'd like, of what we're looking to do. Like I said, the garage was granted back in 1956 at 5 feet away from the property line. The property has a jog that goes from the garage to the back of the garage and then back out, which, Mel, what is that? The existing structure to the property line after the jog.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but just so we have photographs. So we're looking at the same document. Can you see this?
I cannot.
Take a look.
I will say I had spent a lot of time in this house in the 2000s.
But dated is not
That's
dilapidated.
the old black.
Okay, all right.
It was dated in 96.
That's good. That's fine. That's a better representation.
Okay, I'm just saying.
But we saw some stuff earlier tonight that was dilapidated. This isn't
Be
dilapidated.
careful with your words, because words mean something, and we listen to you when you say it's old and dilapidated, I'm thinking it's falling down. We shouldn't have to look to the actual photograph and say, that's not dilapidated.
You had it prepared, though.
Pardon me?
You had it prepared. I didn't see that. That you had
No,
that.
you know what the house looks like.
Of course I do. Sure.
So be careful with the words you use. That means.
Understood.
You want us to believe what you say.
Understood. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to segue into our Plan B and discuss that.
Okay.
Okay. So Mel, why don't you go ahead and explain our Plan B?
So
Our alternate plan is to actually increase the setback. The current 5.06, where the current one-story garage is located, we're actually going to demo that north wall and push it back so that we can accommodate an 8.60 setback.
How much
And-
setback?
8.6.
from
Yeah, so we're,
5.05.
what we're proposing to do is demolish a portion of the, that wall in the garage on the north face.
Well, we're gonna demolish the entire portion of the garage.
Right.
Including the footing and
Right.
including the garage.
So then you'd have a two-story structure, setback 8 instead of 18.
8.6.
All right, so let's call it 9 to be generous.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we're
Understood.
proposing to do. And, yeah, basically increase the setback. Really what it boils down to.
Now, yeah, I mean, we're increasing, we're trying to increase the setback by 4 feet.
Yeah.
I do want to note, everything else, our FAR is way below what we should be. We're gonna move the pool further away from the property line. We're trying to move everything else except that structure away, away from the property line, including the 4 feet. that-
Yeah, and if you were going to leave that structure, it wouldn't be an issue.
Yes.
What the board struggles with is the fact that you're going up an additional.
Understood. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: do you have any proposed mitigation for it in light of the fact that you're going up a second story? Yeah, so when you go up a second story, there are privacy concerns, typically things like that. So you're not looking down in your neighbor's yard. That can be ameliorated in a number of ways. It could be done by planting. It could be done by no windows on that side. It could be done.
Yes.
Do you have any ideas about that?
I certainly do.
Oh, we'd love to hear them.
Sure. So if you actually look to the north, there are trees already that are 16 feet high. I plan to continue those all the way to the bulkhead.
Yeah, please.
Are they yours or the neighbors? Trees are, yeah. So they have, if you look at this, there's a row here, and then the neighbor has some. I have a double row.
So-
There's a double row, and I have four on mine.
So how high would your second story be? Your trees are 16, you just established, right? All right, but let's just say it's 16. How high is the second story?
So the second story,
Not the roof line, where a window would be.
where we can see you in the window?
Yeah.
Okay. 21 feet.
Okay, so you're still 5 feet over.
We're 5 feet over. Okay. Now, with that being said, I do want to line the entire backyard with Leland cypress trees.
Mhm.
And again, like I said, they grow 2 feet,
Yep.
2 feet a year.
Yep.
I want to make this as private as possible. Okay.
Understood.
We're the second house off the bay. If you want to say now the word dilapidated, this house to the south is dilapidated. If you guys have been in that house, I've been in that house. I've been in that crawl space. I've been in the house.
That doesn't matter though.
No, I'm just talking about for privacy. I'm trying to cover.
It's the
I'm trying
neighbor
to
to
cover-
the north or the south that's impacted by your variance request? The north, right? So let's talk about the north and don't worry about the south because that's not in the call of the meeting. right?
Sure. So the north is actually further set back than my structure is. So the window that would be looking over and blocked by the trees eventually doesn't even look at their house.
No, but it looks at what? Is that their backyard
Yeah, the backyard and the pool.
or is that their front yard, actually?
All the way in front of it. The house is actually faced south. That house.
The houses face south?
Yeah, the front door faces south.
Okay.
Oriented south.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, just a second. That's interesting. Yeah, no, you are. All right, thank you. Ms. Ryan, I'm sorry, any other questions from the board? Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
Just, I guess, reiterating that the only precedent that was granted in the area was a side yard of 13.6,
Uh-huh.
but that's pretty much it.
All right. You know what? I'm going to ask if the board would consider, I'd like if you could put your alternate plan to paper for us.
We can stay.
Oh, okay, fabulous.
I was getting ready to amend the meeting. I didn't
So-
realize I was still going for the 5.
Yeah, so, all right. Okay, very good. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application?
So a question for you, since it's a
Ms.
delivery
Pissarro,
today.
would you like to be heard?
Well, it's so that, should the board reserve decision, I understand the documents that were delivered today.
Right.
This was delivered a couple of days ago. Does this reflect the 5 or the 8?
No worries. Yeah.
Let's get the answer.
Okay. So that's the amended plan. Okay, great.
Just I have one other question.
Yeah, please, of course.
What's currently the garage, what is the width? Is that 21.5 feet?
It's a two-car garage. Yes, it is.
21.5.
And is that going to stay 21.5?
Yes, so what we're actually going to do is, we're going to take, there is a room that is next to that on the interior, and we're going to take the space from that to keep the garage, a two-car garage. And we're going to take the room to 3.6 feet from that room, moving over the foundation on both sides of the garage, footings on both sides of the garage, the interior and the exterior, and we're basically going to move that over. The only portion that we have to move is the garage because, like I said, there is a jog in back of the garage that is set further back and further south. So what we were looking to do is basically move the garage over and make that wall straight, so it's aesthetically pleasing and it looks a lot better for the rendering for the structure.
So how long is that encroaching where the garage now is 21.5? How long is that going to become?
No, it's staying the same. It's just going into the house actually.
So in other words,
the garage is staying the exact same size. It's just basically getting moved over, and we're going to demolish the.
so Mr. Wexler, just to,
I want to understand this and maybe it's
Sure.
So I'm trying to understand the plans. So the new wall, I'm looking at what you handed out this year, is going to be 53 feet.
From front to back.
Yes.
It already exists as so.
It'll stay as it's
It'll
existing.
stay as it existing. Only what we want to do is make it straight.
But doesn't it go further back?
No, that's a deck. It's a deck that's already existing. So if you.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
We're just going straight back to the end of the house. We're not looking to increase the.
I'm sorry, when you maybe mean something different to me. When you say we're going straight back,
Yes.
what does that mean?
That means that the whole thing, your entire wall to the property.
So you're going to double the length of the wall.
No, the wall is this, which is like a job. Okay, but the length of the wall is the same length that it is now.
But what are you doing with the job?
You're going to make it straight.
So you're going to continue. You're going to continue the wall.
We're going to continue the wall.
So,
Everybody needs to do that straight.
yeah, because what I'm thinking is maybe. No, say that, that's fine. What I'm, can you say it?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to draw it? You want to draw it in?
So,
Here.
yeah, I think it's on the new side.
Draw it in.
So, we're drawing the survey. Screen wall is just. So the rear is not going to be longer. The side is not going to be longer. It just makes the wall linear to that.
It fills in.
Fills it in.
an inch. Not.
There's no preface for it right now. It's very ugly.
Okay.
So,
We got it. Yep.
What's there now? Is there a wall there now?
Answers are there, there's oil tank there.
But, okay, what I'm getting at is, now, here, the hatch area. The hatch area. That's now open.
Yes.
Open, and you're gonna close all that off at 2 floors. That's a lot of wall that doesn't exist. That's my concern. Not only is the garage going to go up, what's now open, and then maybe condensers and whatever, vice versa. Now that it's going to close off and make it 53 feet of wall.
Correct. What we're going to move
3 feet.
Okay.
I get it. I just want to make sure I understand. I think it's a big ask, but we'll have to-
It is what it is. We'll deal with it.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'd like to hold the picture that the Outback is a two-bedroom house. So it's
That doesn't break anyone's heart.
Your problem is lust.
It's a 2-bedroom house on the water.
I know-
Hard to feel sorry for you, man. Sorry.
Edwards, I know it very well.
Mr. Edwards and his brother, yes. It's very
The
nice
problem
people.
is, for whatever reason, some board made up of whatever, 1957, granted 5 feet from the property line. I have no idea why down in Bayberry Point, 5 instead of 8 feet. I have a suspicion, but we'll leave it at my suspicion. So now, you're stuck with that, and you say, well, we just want to push it forward. You have such an overburdened piece of property. I could think-
In that one respect.
Yeah, I am reluctant to say, okay, now run a wall 53 feet, 2 floors up, when you're that close to begin with. That's the problem.
So I understand. So the 53 feet on the second floor is what the issue is now on the first.
Correct.
Because it
Yeah.
currently is
Correct.
53 feet
Of
on the
course,
first.
because
Yeah.
you're looking at a wall of 2 floors. Plus your wall, what now is open, you close them off. It's just that much more burdensome to the neighbors.
So if it makes a difference, the first question you asked me about the screen, it is going to be screened.
That's what I asked.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
No, that's okay.
I don't believe it's.
You don't
He's
believe-
not.
Well, there's other screening besides trees, but
I'll plant new ones. He just pointed out, it's a house in the water. He doesn't feel bad for me. I can plant new ones. You know, I wouldn't let it get.
That's you, but the new owners may say, we don't like.
I'm never moving from this house.
until you
I've
die. huh?
moved way too many
So we
times.
should grant the variances tied to your life, right?
Perfect.
There you go. Unfortunately, we can't.
Problem that you're going to be doing, you don't know.
We-
I live in the neighborhood. I'm sorry. The neighbor, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll apologize on behalf of the entire board.
And the rest of the neighborhood.
Nah. Actually, he's the best guy in the neighborhood.
We will have to review this.
Absolutely. So thank you for the alternate plan. I think that's an improvement. Let's see, let's discuss it and we'll see what's what. Anyone else wish to be heard? No. Do we want to amend the call?
Would you like to amend the call of the meeting, or would you like to keep it as 5 foot?
I'll be honest with
Yeah,
you.
we're gonna
We'll just,
we're
we'll
gonna amend.
reserve. We could always, we don't need an amendment.
No,
Because
we're
it's
gonna-
the
we're gonna amend,
improvement.
but,
No?
you know, the idea today was to try and come to a resolution. So if you guys have an idea of what you would like me to do,
Right.
I would love to hear it, and I would love to, you know,
Here- here's
in the interest of
Here's the
wasting
problem
my
with that.
time and your time, I would love to
Mr.
hear,
Malcolm.
be open to ideas.
Mr. Malcolm, here's the problem with that. Not the problem, but it's cumbersome. We can't sit here and redevelop and redesign this house here. What our discussion and what our conference is going to be is our decision. So you may want to revise and go back to planning. You see there's some obstacles.
Well, see, we went to planning, and this second revision was okay.
What came out of it? Okay, look, we got it.
That's what came out of
No
it,
worries.
so that's
No
why-
worries. We got it.
That's why we did it. I was trying to minimize the move.
Absolutely. You
And-
did
and,
the
you know,
smart thing.
I was trying to appease the board, minimize the move, try to make it work for everybody.
Okay, good. Anyone else wish to be heard? There being no one, I'll entertain a motion, Mr., I don't know who we're up to, Nicolia. Second? All in favor? Aye. You'll hear from us within 62 days or less.
So that means that you'll have a decision in 60 days.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
We'll try to do better. We always do.
I'll call you every day.
No, don't. Then you'll get, you know what?
Thank you.
Then you're going to get a double benefit because not only will you get a quicker decision, but you'll know what it is. Have a great night. Thank you so much. All right. Our next application, Bay Islip Associates, number 691-22, permission to convert freestanding bank to a fast food restaurant with a drive-through service on a lot having 27,886 square feet, instead of the required 40,000 square feet, Business 3 District, south side of East Main Street, number 430, 459.52 feet west of Saxon Avenue, Bay Shore, New York. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board, and of course, Ms. Pizarro. Good to see you. Philip Butler with the law firm of Farrell Fritz on behalf of the applicant.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear your presentation.
I have some materials, unfortunately, for the board, if I may hand them up.
Please, by all means, hand to the officer. So let me tell you right off the bat, and you can address it whenever you like in your presentation, but what I'm most interested in is when we do these applications with drive-throughs and this substandard square footage, typically the drive-throughs fail. And it results in a backup. I can show you any number of those within the town. Thank you. So if you want to address that first, I don't know if you have a traffic study or anything else.
We do, and actually then I'll probably defer to Alex Hallman from Bowler Engineering to address that since I'm not the project engineer.
Sure.
But
Can I just point out, this is within a much larger company. It's not necessarily a sole function.
Failure is failure.
That's what they say in geology, and that's the real credit.
Not sure. I'm not sure what to make of that, Mr. McCullough. Mr. Butler, the floor is yours, sir.
To his point, though, this is a 7-acre shopping center, and this issue was vetted pretty heavily in front of the planning board and the town board as part of the change of zone and special use permit, which of course we received and which is why we are here.
There's an entrance going out to, what highway is that?
That is East Main Street.
That's Montauk Highway?
Yep.
Okay.
And actually that.
And your drive-through is going to be fed by that entrance, right? Or it's going to exit through that?
It is going to be fed by that entrance, but the way that the configuration is, it was modified specifically to avoid certain issues of utilizing that
Well,
entrance.
looking forward to hearing.
All right,
Great.
so then if that's the main concern of the board, I'll just skip
Well, that's
all-
my main concern. I can't speak for it.
Okay.
So go ahead, do your
Well,
presentation.
I'll turn it over to Alex. He can address that particular issue, and if there's, yeah.
That when did we approve it fails and goes on to Bet's house?
Taco Bell is a disaster.
Mhm.
It's a disaster because it's scary. I stay away from it. I don't know what you're going to do to alleviate that fear.
Sure. So actually, Alex is setting up his.
Perfect. Go
No.
right ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Let me just direct you to it's Exhibit 7. Will probably provide an easier viewing than this. That's the site plan. If you look at C102, that's the general site plan, and then C301 is a closer up version. So you can see the queuing models that that we prepared following the town board hearing. So Alex, you can go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, Alex Hallman of Bowler Engineering here on behalf of the applicant. Yes, Holleman. This is slated to be a Starbucks. Yes.
Interesting. Hardly a restaurant, but that's how they classify it. Yeah, I mean, that might be helpful to you. So, anyway, go ahead.
It's not a Chick-fil-A.
So I believe the specific question was in reference to describing the queue and how the queue will operate within the parcel in the shopping center.
Our main concern is a failure that leads to a backup onto Montauk Highway. So what steps have you taken to alleviate that?
Right. So the site design has baked in systems to have that not happen. The far western plan left entrance that was alluded to is an ingress only entrance. There's also a curb island that is placed between that entrance and the drive-through queue, which wraps around the building and then wraps as the queue backs up, it goes to the east. That curl then is allowed to queue further into the shopping center. Therefore, by that design, it is not intended, nor should it, back up into East Main Street. It will continue to queue inside the shopping center as a whole towards the main entrance and
it
throat.
does if you can't service the cars quick enough and they're coming in off Montauk Highway, then it's going to fail and back up onto Montauk Highway because of the entrance, correct or
No,
not?
Mr. Chairman, if I can just direct you to C102.
That's exactly what I'm looking at.
So they've added a parking island.
I see the parking island, yep.
So if somebody were to turn in here, what number are you on? I'm sorry.
C102. Here, I'll share mine. So you see what he's saying is he's added the traffic island here so that you can't come in here this way and get, you know, bail and back. If that fails, it backs up this way. Right, that's, I was just pointing out to Mr. Wexler. Right. And how many feet is that? Do you know? It's a long way. It's a long way, though.
Yes.
That's where people.
Correct.
Well, that's where your problem is.
Right, that's what he's saying, and that's a long distance away.
Well, I mean, I just would like to point out the Starbucks that's on Sunrise Highway and Irish Lane. It's regularly, that it's well within the shopping, Stop and Shop parking lot. Granted, it's not the same lot.
Right.
But it's consistently backed up into Irish Lane.
So I think the concern about that, though, and I don't disagree with you, is that we're granting it for, what, a fast food or a restaurant, right?
Yes.
With it,
Yeah, that's.
now it's a Starbucks, but if Starbucks goes under and somebody who, a McDonald's comes in, the zoning is in place.
So
And McDonald's is a very different use.
I think the covenant probably reads coffee shop, right?
I'm sorry, Mary. Can you repeat
Hang on, Mary,
I said, I think the covenant probably reads coffee shop, right?
is that correct? Okay, so that's great, thank you. Good save, huh?
yes.
No,
Yes.
No, I got it, and it's a good answer, so, thank you. Anything else that you'd like to answer?
I just want to follow up on what Mr. Foley.
Yes, sir.
We had this similar with the Starbucks on Irish Lane, I know it very well, and it's a mess.
That's probably why Anthony didn't come tonight.
It's a
Oh,
mess.
Tell him I said he doesn't have to be afraid.
shots fired.
He did represent it.
But yeah, it's a
It was,
mess.
it was before the pandemic. Who knew that the trend was going to go this way?
And we had all of the engineering and all of the proposals, and it won't happen, it's gotta be back to somewhere in Oklahoma before we go on, and I drove into that area, and I used to Stop and Shop, and it's a mess. It's awful. I don't know how you avoid it by saying, oh, well, our model shows it won't, that's my concern. Additionally, the problem is, you only have 69% of the required completion, 40,000. And I have a feeling the town envision, we need more properties to allow to. I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying, but I can't disabuse myself of what I see regularly every Saturday and Sunday.
So let me ask you this before you answer. Do you have a shared whatever agreement with the owner of the principal shopping center to allow your cars to queue back up?
And that was the point I was going to make. So all of the parcels, there's 4 parcels comprising the 7-acre shopping center, or what was a shopping center, now it's Northwell Public Cancer Center.
Right.
It's all commonly owned. It's going to continue to be commonly owned by the applicant. So it's all being operated as a single integrated center. So, in as much as this parcel itself is undersized, we do have the benefit, we are going to be utilizing the rest of the parking lot. So, even if this lot were 40,000 square feet, I think we would still be looking at this configuration for the queuing because of just the configuration of the driveways.
Yeah, but
So-
it's not as though, I mean, to interrupt you, but it's not, there's a conceptual difference. It exists. It's not as though you have 40,000 square feet of a standalone property within which to situate the building. You don't. You have 27,000 feet plus, and it's going to be shared with yet that Northwell complex, and then you have the Eden Bank right there. It's not, so to conflate it, to say, well, it would be that much different if we had 40,000, but you'd have a dedicated lot there. You could work. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So what you're saying is comparing apples to oranges, and it's not getting any traction with me.
Well, I mean,
That's the pretending that nobody's ever gonna go in and out of North.
no, not at all, because the Northwell has the dedicated lane that goes straight through the center of the property.
Okay.
And the only use over on the east side of the property is going to be the Starbucks. So presumably, the heaviest amount of traffic is going to be going over here only for this use. Northwell has all of the parking over here, and then the other two uses on the site are on the far west side. So really, the traffic that's going to be going in this direction once it comes into the site is going to be the Starbucks traffic.
But aren't they going to be using and competing with the main entrance with the bank? I mean, when I use that.
Well, there are other entrances over here on I'm forgetting the name of the street on the west. There's two entrances.
That's Saxon?
So nobody's gonna use Saxon.
No, but then you have the main entryway, and like I said, there's a.
But then, as somebody said, I think Chris McCullough was a local organizer. Everybody's gonna use the main entrance. Nobody's gonna go and fight to get down Saxon Avenue and Wedmere with the HFD Bank. They're not gonna do that. They're gonna use this main entrance. There's nothing you can tell me that I'm going to say, oh, I agree with you. We're going to drive out of the way. I'm not going to do that.
No, I'm sure you'll be persuaded by the facts, Mr. Wexler. So if there's something, there may be something that they can tell you, but it's not just in front of you yet.
Well, admittedly, I do not know the Irish Lane Starbucks, so I don't know what queuing problems are there. I don't know.
I'm telling you, it's a disaster.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if they have 20-something cars queued up at once, or how many drive-through.
I don't like that.
I don't like that.
Yeah, and we were told, no, it's perfect.
It's never a problem before the pandemic. Now it's insane.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add? Anyone in the audience wish,
Yes,
oh,
so-
please, I'm sorry, go
Valentine
right ahead,
Stoller-
step on up.
Valentine Stoller with the applicant, Bay Islip Associates, 1455 Veterans Highway, Islandia, New York. Valentine, Valentin, Stoller, Staller. Thank you to the board for hearing this application.
Of course.
Um,
I'm sorry.
He's here for the applicant.
I'm with the applicant. I think, the purpose of this law is, as this board stated, is to prevent, undersized lots from using drive-throughs. But, respectfully, functionally, if this were 40,000 square feet, we wouldn't have any different layout for this property.
Yeah, your argument is you've put in place mitigation that essentially takes away the potential adverse impacts of having an insufficient amount of square footage. Right?
Yes, and we've had a rigorous review with the town board and the planning board. And I think, the town board approved it. I think if this board, were to require, say, I guess if it denied it and we did a minor subdivision application, the town board would then review it.
Well, no, we review the minor subs.
Okay.
So here's the thing.
But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no. So effectively, this is a 7-acre property, and also the variance that we're asking for. It looks like a bigger variance than it is because part of the property is in the wetlands. There's also a DOT taking. So I think it's. I forget what it is.
Get that.
And also, I'd like to point out in our portfolio we have an analogous situation with a McDonald's in Sunrise Highway in Oakdale. That's only a 20,000 square foot lot. Has a double drive-through. There are no issues, and it's exactly the same condition. So that's a 4498 Sunrise Highway. So we have done rigorous. This has undergone a rigorous review. Yeah. So
here's the thing, okay? You have to convince us that, again, the potential adverse impact has to do with queuing and failure and backups. Maybe you've done it, maybe you haven't. Mr. Wexler has his doubts, and he's expressed those. But that's what we have to be convinced of. Absent our concern about a failure, and we've seen these things fail in different scenarios, and we don't want to create another one, frankly. And there's no way for us to take it back once we grant you the approval.
Well,
and if it fails, right? And unless you want a covenant that if it fails, you're going to come back here. And
there is a covenant imposed on the property by the town board, where if there is a traffic queuing failure, the planning board will review it.
Fabulous. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's
we do have
helpful.
that. We also have, I guess, the landscape island is also a covenant, so it cannot be removed. It's
Sure.
one-way ingress. is also a covenant, can't be removed. Coffee shop is also a covenant, so that, can't be
Good.
removed except
Yeah,
for,
those are all
by
good
the
things
town
in your
board.
favor. So I think what we have to do is kind of look at all those documents, take them as a whole, and make a decision based upon the record before us. So, like I said, I think all of those factors tend to lean in your favor, so that's all very helpful. All right, any other questions from the board? None of, Ms.,
I just want to hammer the point home, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
all right, hang on, I'll give you a minute. Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
Just that they went to planning board and it seems like they are trying to mitigate as much as they can with the smaller site that they do have. That's
Okay.
it, it's no objection.
Go ahead, Mr. Butler. The
I just
closing
wanna-
argument is yours, sir.
Thank you. I just want to say again, this is effectively a 7-acre property, and I don't know that if we were to do a minor subdivision to make this a code compliant lot, that would have any bearing on the issue that's been presented. So,
We
you
get the
know,
point.
we will, wait for your decision, and obviously, we'll respond to it. If we have to make modifications, I don't know, but.
If you were to do a minor subdivision, would it eat into the required parking? Are you over?
No, we are currently at a parking level that is pursuant to a pre-existing relaxation. So this is actually decreasing, I believe, the amount of required parking, but we're still under what you'd be required to have by code.
And none of the parking, well, very little appears to be on your parcel,
Well,
right?
he said if they did a minor subdivision, presumably they'd make it compliant.
I don't know that they-
size to avoid us.
I don't know that they could fit
I
it.
don't think they could.
Yeah.
That's an possibility.
Okay.
I don't know who brought up my.
No, we could, because we own the entire shopping center.
No, you couldn't, on the minor subdivision, staying within the parameters of 40,000 square foot lot. We understand your point, and that's all the mitigation, and we get that, and I get that, certainly. I'll say, speak for myself. I think the point that's being made here is within the 40,000, if you did convert it to a 40,000 square foot lot, you'd still wind up short somehow.
We could convert it to a 60,000 square foot lot. We own the entire parcel.
Yeah, but with that, was the point of when saying.
But that would take away from the main use too.
For the other uses outside.
You have a variance for limited.
For the entire shopping center.
It could, and it still would not address.
Guys, you can't talk over everybody. One at a time. Right now it's us. Me. You have a variance for parking on the campus center in Preston. So if you enlarge it to what your statement was 60,000 square, feet, you need to answer that.
So the variance, the variance,
Answer my question.
the variance is for the entire shopping center. It's one integrated shopping center. This
All
just happens to be the tax lot that's
Very good.
30,000
Any
square
other
feet.
questions? There being none, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Sullivan. Second, all in favor? Aye, opposed, none. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a great night, safe going home. All right,
Hold on. There was one more to be called. They
oh yeah, we
requested
have
adjournment.
one, wait, we also have one second call. I'd just like to note that no one is here on the application 684-22. And we have 5 applications for accessory apartment renewals for a period of 3 years. Do I have a motion? Second, all in favor? And the following, we have 10 two-family, family use only renewals for a period of 3 years. Do I have an motion? Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and just our last piece of business, 105 Diamond Corp., the last application on our agenda. Make a motion to adjourn till October 4th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? None? So moved. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you. I'm sorry.